Good evening and welcome into Giangelo's for the 2023 South Range Raiders show. This is not Dan Yeagley. I'm not DJ Yoakley. It's a new year. Coach Dave Rach in this year at the helm of the pirate ship himself. Chris Sigler in for DJ Yoakley, filling in at WFMJ tonight. He will be back with you every week following. Coach Rach, welcome to the campaign.
Thank you.
It's here.
Yeah, finally. Thank you for having us, and thank you to Giangelo's and YSN, obviously, for their coverage and continued support of us.
And fall is in the air this evening already. You can feel it. We're at Tuesday of the week, leading up to the first game of the year. Let's backtrack a little bit real quick. Let's set the table. 16-0 last year. Obviously, everybody knows the Cinderella story. Dan Yeagley decides to hang it up. Why not? Best way to do it.
Right.
Out on top. In steps the longtime assistant, Coach Rach. Since 2013, I believe you've been around the program.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
During the season last year, did you have a sense that, if Dan does decide to hang it up, I might be interested in throwing my hat in the ring, giving this a shot?
To be honest with you, no.
Okay.
I didn't. Part of it, I think, during the year, you're just so focused on the day-to-day or operational stuff.
Sure.
And it's actually funny. I told the other coaches and some of the kids had said stuff to me, throughout the years or whatever, would you want to be a head coach someday? And I've kind of said, no, that I thought that ship had kind of sailed and it wasn't something that I was overly wild about. But after talking to Coach Yeagley when he did retire, we had a long conversation about a lot of things, not just football, but about life and how it impacts your family and whatnot. So, I guess just kind of evolved in my decision-making and my thinking and chose to do it.
How's it weigh in your thinking process when you throw your name in the ring that you're going to follow the guy? That's not an easy thing to do. Sometimes it can be intimidating and it'll actually chase candidates away.
Sure.
But you decided to face that head on. Was that ever in the back of your mind?
You know what? No, the one thing I would say is that I don't know, and I'm sure a lot of coaches feel this way. You probably never feel like you're ready. And so in talking to Coach Yeagley, he kind of made it clear like he felt the same way at one point, but it's definitely not about me or about Coach Yeagley, and he would tell you the same thing. It's about the program, and I think, when in talking to the kids and talking to the other coaches, and we were trying to figure out directionally where we were going to go, sometimes I think you have to step up whether you're comfortable or not, and if you think that you can help the program and make it better, then that's what you try to do.
How do you handle any kind of pressure that comes your way, internally, externally, following a Dan Yeagley the following season?
I tell everybody, like I know I can't be Coach Yeagley. I just have to be myself, and I think our kids have done a great job. Our coaches have done a great job of making me feel comfortable and just being myself and not trying to do anything that I'm not comfortable with. And I think as long as you're handling it, and trying to be yourself at all times and doing the best you can, I think you have a clear conscience, and you don't let the pressure suffocate you as much. It's definitely something that I'm aware of, and there's big shoes to fill, no doubt about that. But again, and a lot of it too is I think I'm helped by just day-to-day operations, and I'm trying to do what's best this minute. So you don't have a whole lot of time to reflect, which is probably a good thing, in my situation.
Same coaching staff comes back, a lot of comfort level there.
Yeah.
You being a former assistant, how are you juggling the time constraints now that you're the head ball coach?
Yeah.
You come from being an assistant. You have the same cast of assistant coaches. Does that help you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have so much trust in those guys and rely on them for so many things, whether it be on the field coaching or instructing or off the field in terms of, game day operation stuff. And just so, having, the previous relationship with them and the amount of trust that I have in them has been so impactful and helpful for me. That it kind of frees me up to do some things that I wasn't being asked to do before. Right. And that's all new to me. But again, I don't think that would be possible at a lot of places. And if I didn't have the staff that we have here, and and where I know the kids are in good hands when they're getting coached, in roles that I was previously doing.
Right. In a room full of people here,
Yeah.
we know that the South Range community is strong.
Yeah.
They follow their athletes. They follow their students. Doesn't matter what they're doing.
Sure.
The community's involved. How does that help you be comfortable in that new position and new role?
Yeah, I mean, it helps immensely. I think, we've said it a lot of times, but, the South Range community is a really special community. We have advantages in terms of support and family support for our kids and support for our program that a lot of places don't have. And so I think it helps just knowing that they're going to let us coach their kids hard. They're going to let us be demanding of their kids in terms of their time, in terms of what we're asking of them. And I think a lot of it, too, is there's a lot of transparency between us and between the parents in terms of, we're trying to make our guys, win football games and better football players, obviously. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make them better husbands. We're trying to make them better dads one day and better employees and employers and better student athletes.
Yep.
And just knowing that we're on the same page with such a great community, it means the world to us. And then, it doesn't hurt going on the road Friday nights and knowing that we have a giant following that's going to be there.
Absolutely.
And they support us, win, lose, or draw.
I saw it firsthand on the sidelines last year at the state title game.
Yeah.
The following was unbelievable.
Yeah.
First time I've ever been to the state championship game, and to see that kind of following is something to remember.
Yeah.
For myself, being an outsider.
Sure.
And seeing the passion and just what a community does for its student athletes.
Yeah. No, it was. You're right. It was a really special day for us, and for the people that were around, our following really is like that year in and year out. As crazy as it sounds, I even going back 15 or 20 years, to when I was in school, I can remember that's how I fell in love with the program. We weren't even. I wasn't in school yet. The first South Range game I went to, and we lived in Canfield. We showed up, and I remember falling in love with the place and just being blown away, even as a youngster, just at the support and just how exciting the environment was, and how much it had to be really special for the players on the field, but for the whole community. It's something that I think brings the community together on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And we don't have a bunch of, we don't have a big. Large amount of businesses and things to do on a Friday night, so
Right.
football is kind of where it's at. And I think it speaks volumes about like you said, the community support, the parental support. Those guys coming to the games.
Something Coach Yeagley instilled in this program, and I really respect, is the family atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
That he provided to the entire program, to the entire community. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Now that you're the head guy,
Yeah.
sorry,
No, you're good.
your wife and kids are here now.
Yeah.
And a lot of new responsibility comes upon the head coach.
Yeah.
Is how accepting was she in you accepting this new role and knowing how you balance your new responsibilities and with your family as well?
Yeah, I mean, she was a big part of me, throwing my hat in the ring, if you will, in terms of the head coaching thing. We talked about it, and at the end of the day, my number one job is to be a great dad and a great husband.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that she was okay with it and that it would work out for the kids. And, it's certainly a lot of the weight has fallen on her shoulders, especially in year one, and she's been terrific in terms of kind of holding it down at home,
Sure.
when dad's busy. And, the kids are still at an age where, they can be high maintenance. She's over there feeding them hot chips right now. But none of it would be possible for me to do this if it weren't for her and the support that she gives me. She can kind of tell, when I come home, whether it's been a good day or a bad day,
Sure.
and she keeps things in perspective. And then obviously the kids, make whatever struggles or hardships are going on, at the office a lot easier to deal with. They've been great. And it's nice now they're mobile. I don't know if that's a good thing or not as far as my wife's concerned, but they're able to come around and be around the facility and get to know the kids. We're going to talk to one of our players here in a little bit that my 3-year-old daughter is just in love with. So,
that's great.
But no, it's great, and we're really lucky to have the family atmosphere that we have and to have the community that we have. There's a lot of times where I'm having to rely on different parts of the community to share lessons with my kids and help raise them really. And again, the South Range community raised me in a lot of ways, and I hope it's able to do the same for my kids.
With the assistant coaches, does that come into play now too? Is if you need to to leave at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
If you have an activity with your kids, because like you said,
Yeah,
your number
right.
one priority is being a good dad.
Yeah.
Do they step in right for you and say, hey, you know what,
Yeah.
Coach Rock, take
Yeah.
off. We know what it's all about.
Big time, and not just our staff, but our kids. It's kind of like an ongoing joke since I was in school. Every Friday night after the game or after the scrimmage, Coach Yeagley would joke and say, "Hey, I'm going to let you guys sleep in tomorrow. We'll bring you in at 9." So after the first scrimmage, I told the kids, I said, I'd love to let you sleep in, but I said, we have a youth soccer game tomorrow at 11. I said, can I have you guys come in at 8? And before I even had the sentence or the question out of my mouth, I think it was Brady Crumbacher actually said, we'll come in at 8. So they understand how important it is to me, to be able to around my kids and see special things like the soccer stuff that he's doing now. And my daughter came from gymnastics, on her way here. So, but in the coaching staff, as far as filling out, practice schedules and just the stuff, the day-to-day operational stuff that takes a lot out of you, they take off my plate and allow me to be dad, which is, again, number one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's talk football. That's
right.
why we're here.
Yeah.
It's week 1. It's Tuesday. We got 3 days to go prior to the first game. 20 seniors you're replacing this year. Do you have a certain number of players that have stepped in already into that leadership role? You only have 9 seniors back this year. It's a fairly younger squad.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that here in a few minutes. Do you have anybody that stepped up thus far through the summer, through the long 2-a-day process?
Yeah, I think, all of the seniors have done a really good job of doing that. It's not something they've had to do previously, which has obviously been a challenge and a kind of a battle as far as a race against the clock for them. They're having to do things that are new to them, and but they've done a really good job of doing that. And for us to have success, we're going to have our seniors play their best ball. We've relied in terms of leadership on the guys that have been in the fire and done it. So, Brady Crumbacher played a lot of football for us last year, did a great job. Gus Valentine and Blake Ewert, those guys are guys that were in the fire. Tristan Toy, started last year for us. So just those guys that I think bring a calming presence in terms of, they've been there and done that, and they're kind of showing the other guys, what it takes in terms of preparation, to be able to, go in every rep or at least a lot of the game versus, a lot of these guys played important roles for us last year, but they weren't having to do it, all game long, which it's been a challenge for them. It's something that we're continuing to learn from and grow through. And but I couldn't be more happy with how the leadership roles have kind of worked their way out. And it wasn't that way at first, but it's not like a forced thing. It's organic, and they're just kind of each growing into those roles.
10,000 yards lost with that senior class. 42 points a game you guys averaged. Is there a certain person you're going to rely on this year, or is it more like a group effort? Because usually when you're 16-0, you have that guy.
Yeah, right.
But I don't personally think that was the case last year. Is that the same case moving forward this year?
You hope so. I think we had a lot of those guys last year, the guys you're talking about. And I think we have a lot of them on this year's roster. For us, I think, the guys up front are our most mature group in terms of, there's a lot of seniors up there. We have 4 seniors on the offensive line and a pair of juniors that are helping out. And so, for us, it's going to start up there, and those guys are going to have to lead us and to kind of buy time, until some of our younger skill players can get acclimated and get comfortable and get confident. I think we have a lot of really good players, skill players. A big part of football, or any competition, right, is how you're handling, finding a way to play confident and playing free and playing loose. And, that's been a challenge for us, so far, throughout camp. But it's improving. And while those skill guys are gaining confidence, they're going to have to really rely on the big fellas up front, to kind of buy us some time, and set the tone.
Heavy junior class you have this year.
Yeah.
Guys that gained a lot of experience last year, a lot of playing time.
Yeah.
Do they know what's in front of them, the mountain that they're about to climb now? Because the spotlight is on them now. When you're a junior, you're expected to step into that role at the varsity level.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easier to stay back in the shadows and watch everybody else perform while you're gaining experience. Are they ready for that stage this year?
I think they are. I mean, we have to continue to learn. I think the biggest struggle we've had so far, and we've addressed it with the kids, is just I think we're pressing a little bit. Those guys are so eager to grow into that role and to take on a bigger role that I think sometimes when you're pressing, it doesn't allow you to play free and loose and fast. And, those guys I think are up for the challenge. They just have to learn, that sometimes, you have to slow down to speed up, and sometimes I think playing a little bit more relaxed would be good for us in a lot of ways. But as far as the preparation and what it takes on and off the field in any given week or any given off season, I think, those guys get that. They're a special group. And I think the seniors realize, A, that they have to lead, and B, that they're going to have to share some leadership and to help bring the juniors along, because the truth is we're playing a lot of them.
Absolutely. Skill players. We talked about that 10,000 yards gone.
Yeah.
You got to replace a lot of skill positions. Quarterback is number one.
Yeah.
You lose a Billy Skirpak.
Yeah.
That's a big shoes to fill for a lot of players. You're going to rely on one or two players this year to maybe fill that role, along with does the running back position and Ewert take some pressure off of that position this year?
Yeah, I think so, and not just Ewert, but Aiden Dominguez is going to carry it for us. Luke Starkey, Dylan Smesco, those guys are all going to get touches and carries, and I think that was a big part of our success last year, was that we were able to, maintain and carry healthy backs into the playoffs. It's in the news right now in the NFL. They're constantly talking about how many carries does a running back have.
Absolutely.
Because it's obviously tough. It's a physical position, take a lot of hits and a lot of banging. So, I think that it takes pressure off of any quarterback when you have a solid run game, and not just the backs but the line. Those guys are going to have to again, buy us time and help shoulder a lot of the load, until we're able to, mature a little bit at the other skill positions. As far as quarterback goes, Tristan Toyle will play for us in week 1. Jimmy Powell play. And those guys don't have to be Billy Skirpak anymore than have to be Dan Yeagley.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Do they feel internal pressure because they're trying to fill that role, or are they pretty
not,
loose?
It's something we've talked about. I don't think those two are really nervous about anything. They're both kind of gunslingers and free spirits.
That's great.
And we love that about them. I love that they're themselves, and so I don't know if they feel pressure or not by it, but I would hope not.
Right.
I can't. I could definitely understand how they would, but I want them to know, and we've talked about this. They can't be Billy like I can't be Dan. That doesn't mean that I'm not great in my own right, or they can't be great in their own right. You have to be ourselves, and hopefully that's good enough. And those guys do a lot of things, at a really high level, maybe different than what Billy did, and we've had to shape some things around their strengths. And again, it's tough to compare anybody as a first-year starter as a junior to how Billy was as a 16th start as a senior. He started 2 years. So, but again, those are great players for us. We have a lot of confidence in, and they're our guys. And we're lucky to have them and have a lot of belief in them. And I think Friday night, some other people will see why we like them so much.
That's great, and I think that continuity in the coaching staff, believing in these kids that have been there, gone to battle for them in the previous years. These kids will soak up that confidence, and they know that these coaches have their back, and they'll run through the wall for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, Tristan's been a great leader for us. He's played a lot of really good football for us. And I know that he believes that we have his back and that we believe in him, and that's the biggest thing. I think with any young player, the bigger challenge is we need Tristan to believe in himself, as much as we do, because we have a ton of faith in him, and we know what kind of great player he can be.
Let's flip the ball.
Yeah.
Let's go to your side of the ball, something you're comfortable with on the defensive side.
Yeah.
8 points a game last year. You guys gave up. Going to replace quite a few players on that side of the ball this year as well. How do you guys step up and make that impact 2 years in a row, if you can?
Yeah, I think Coach Mancuso is our defensive coordinator. He's done a great job, I think, of getting to know the kids and what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then building a package that's maybe familiar to them, but is something that he's comfortable with too. At the end of the night, he's the one that's going to have to call the defense and install stuff and pregame planning. He has to know what he likes, and I think there's been, day one it's been a great marriage between our kids and him. He's a great leader, and he's been in the fire. He knows football. He's a really, really good coach, and our kids love him. I think that's the biggest thing. The kids love him, and the kids know that he cares about them, which is, probably the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
For us, I don't think it's, playing defense isn't magic. You have to have guys that are willing to go out and play hard for 48 minutes and give relentless effort. And then they've got to really work hard during the week in terms of preparation, as far as knowing how to get lined up and recognize formations and and then they got to go play like wild. Which, again, we're lucky culturally. I think our kids are willing to go do whatever we ask them to do, and I think it's been good so far. So we're going to have again. Our kids understand, and those quarterbacks are a big part of what we do on defense. Sure. But our kids understand that, we're going to have to win some gritty games early, while we're still getting stuff installed. We haven't been able to, install as much as we normally would by now as an offense. So we're going to have to win some down and dirty games and find ways to excel on special teams, and that's been good. So I think the big thing is our kids culturally believe in that.
Do you find yourself, since you have to replace so many upperclassmen, spending more time studying film and spending more time with your players, understanding that film that you may have taken for granted in the past, that these upperclassmen picked up on things a little quicker than these guys will?
Yeah. Well, I think, the biggest thing for us has been, as a staff, we've had to assess and kind of, judge ourselves based on, hey, are we doing too much here or not enough here? And, to your point, the film, I think, tells you, whether or not the kids are confused or not. And, our role as coaches is to make sure it's simple enough that our kids can go play emotionally and confidently on a Friday night. And so that's been a big part of it. And then, like you said, just have to go slow at times and be patient with them and just understand that, all of our guys, that played for us last year had to start somewhere, and the big thing is, developing a great foundation. And that's been something that I think the majority of our time has been spent on. Which is, what we think is the right thing to do right now.
Before we get into the schedule,
yeah,
and particularly Friday night's game,
yeah,
any crazy story from two-a-days that you can remember this year? There's always something that goes on. The coaches say, "What are they doing over there? Look at these guys."
Well,
something you can tell here.
Every day, I think there's some of that, especially during lunchtime. At two-a-days, you'd hear the music going and walk in, and we'd have guys that were dancing, and so everything else, but. Nothing too crazy. I guess one thing, and this isn't a crazy story, but I guess something that was, at least was memorable to me was during doubles, I had my family up there, Julie and the kids were up on the field. We were running around one night, and it's probably 8:30 or 9 o'clock. We're getting ready to leave, and see a car pull in, and Brady Crumbacher, who you'll talk to in a minute, gets out of the car, and he was going up there to get extra work in by himself. And so I was trying to use him as a learning tool for my son, and I said, this is one of our best players, and this is why he's one of our best players. He's showing up and working well while a lot of people are at home sleeping or resting. And I was cut off about halfway through it because my daughter wanted to go give him a hug and a kiss. So, nothing too crazy in camp.
That's awesome. Let's get into the schedule.
Yeah.
Tough non-conference schedule this year.
Yeah.
Starting off with a local rival in Springfield that you faced multiple years, and I think we were just talking before the broadcast, 4 or 5 years in a row with the COVID mixed in between.
Yeah.
How does that affect the players leading off with a big rival game like that?
Well, I think it can be a good thing for us. I think it adds an element of you better have a great camp and you better be focused, and we can't waste any days because we know we've got a big one right out of the gates. We've been talking, throughout August about, we're opening up with a playoff game as far as, we're concerned. We know Springfield's a good team, and obviously, a huge rival for us, and it comes with bragging rights and stuff for the year. So I think it helps, add an element of focus during August. And I would hope we would feel that no matter who we were playing in week one, but I think it's a little bit easier to get their attention when they know we got the Tigers week one.
Absolutely. You're going to show up in New Middletown on new turf this year. It's going to be a beautiful evening on Friday night as well.
Yeah.
Do the kids know there's going to be that added juice in the stands, knowing the defending state champs are coming in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of a bullseye on your back?
Yeah, I mean, our guys aren't strangers to being in tough environments, and they're definitely not strangers to the Springfield-South Range rivalry. Anybody that's been a part of our community for any length of time will tell you that it's a down and dirty rivalry. I've been around a lot of games as a player and a lot of games as a coach, and I can tell you that it is as physical and hard fought as they come. And again, it's kind of unique in that they have a great team that's been around. 2 state championships they've appeared in right over the last, I guess, 3 years. And our guys were there last year, so I think there's eyes from around the state watching it. We're on TV week one, so that's a big part of it. And but no, I think our guys are excited and they know what's in store for us. They know what's going to take to win it.
Along with that familiarity in the non-conference schedule is some unfamiliar foes.
Yeah.
Green in week 2.
Yeah.
JFK, local powerhouse in week 3.
Yeah.
And then this year's a unique year, being there's only 7 teams in the NE8.
Yeah.
You have that late season out-of-conference game with Louisville.
Yeah.
Week 9.
Right.
Is that something to keep on your radar? That way they keep their focus on what's going on, not playing a familiar foe that you've had in the past during that conference schedule?
Yeah. Yes and no.
Yeah.
I would say that, I think the Northeast 8 is a great conference.
Absolutely.
And, our kids will tell you we're challenged every week. There hasn't been a game on our schedule that we've been able to overlook in a lot of years now. So I think we're, kind of battle tested in that respect. Our kids understand that every week we have to prepare as if it's a playoff game. Obviously this year stepping up and playing a Federal League team with Green is something that's a little bit new to us. We played Louisville in maybe 19, I think.
Who plays a predominant –
Oh, they're playing. Yeah, they have a really brutal schedule.
They play a predominant Federal League schedule themselves.
Right. So, but I think our kids are excited about the test and to get to show what we can do and see where we stack up, on the big stage.
And numbers-wise, you stack up fine with 60 players on a D5 school, which most D4 and D3 schools would love to have that problem for sure.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's a credit to our community, a credit to our school system.
Yeah.
South Range football is important to our community. And our community takes a lot of pride in the football program, and we've got good numbers. So, and again, I think, Mr. Farron, our athletic director, has done a great job of getting us a schedule that's going to harden us for the playoffs and make us battle tested where, we don't want to back into the playoffs. I think if we're as good as our goals suggest that we want to be, then we're going to have to play some tough teams in the regular season. I think we have a whole slate of them this year.
Sure. In that NE8, it's a brutal league.
Yeah, it is.
There's a team in Struthers that really challenged you last year. Mm-hmm. Was that a wake-up call last year against that Struthers team? It seemed like once that game, and I believe, and I was talking to Chris Colucci prior, I don't remember if you guys were losing at one point in that game or it was really close. It might have been the closest score that you've had. You end up winning the game by 10.
Yeah.
Was that a wake-up call the rest of the year? And does that set the tone, knowing Struthers knows, hey, these guys are coming to our place this year
I think
with a bullseye?
For sure. I think we learned a valuable lesson in that, our schedule is filled with really good teams and really good players. And if you don't prepare, like it's a championship game each week, somebody's going to come get you. And so I do think we kind of reaped, as funny as it sounds, I think we reaped the rewards of being in that struggle. Anytime I think you go through adversity, you become stronger. And I think that's something that was a big part of our success, moving on into the postseason last year, was that we found out quickly, hey, we're not doing things the right way Monday through Thursday. And when you're not doing them right Monday through Thursday, it starts showing up on Friday nights.
Absolutely. And you talk about the postseason real quick, and we like to ask this question to all the coaches. Your feelings on the length of the season? A lot less time to prepare now due to the added playoff week. They back the season up to the left.
Yeah.
How do you really feel about that grind? Do you miss that extra week of preparation in August?
Yeah, I personally do.
Yeah.
I think you constantly feel like you're rushed to get done what you need to get done. I think it's kind of changed the way teams structure, their installs, the way teams, kind of plan on what they're going to do week one. I think it's forced everybody to be a little bit more basic. We're a good example. You can kind of tell anybody that saw our scrimmages could tell you we were very vanilla in the scrimmages. But again, I think not because we were trying to hide anything, but rather we're kind of pressed for time. As far as the length of the season, I think 16 games is a long time for high school kids, especially with no bye week.
Right.
It's there's definitely a war of attrition, and we're fortunate in that we have 60 kids. But if you have a great team of 35, I think you're holding your breath, and I think it's maybe unrealistic to say you're going to go 16 weeks healthy enough. So I think that would be my biggest concern, would be the health of the kids and just the attrition that comes with a 16-week regular season. And the other thing that I would say, and this is probably not the most popular thing, but I just feel like if you're I think you could find out who the best team is in the state of Ohio in an 18 playoff. I don't know. I'm sure there's outliers out there, but I don't know how realistic it is to find the best team in the state if it's a 9 through 16 seed.
Yeah.
Maybe certainly a team that can knock off a 1 through 8 seed.
Sure.
But I think you're asking a lot out of a team that goes 3-7 maybe is a is a 16 seed.
Right.
I don't know how many teams out there that are 3 and 7 are gonna win a state title.
How do you look at the focus of the players early in the season through the double days with passing scrimmages in the summer, and then all of a sudden you have, your long practices to being in August, and then you have 2 scrimmages. Does the focus start to wane somewhere close to that second scrimmage to where, I hate to say it, the kids start looking like they're bored? So because they've been going at it for so long, it seems like, before that first game gets there?
Yeah, you know what? I think every team,
right,
deals
absolutely.
with that to some degree. For us, we weren't real pleased with the week of preparation or practice that we had prior to our first scrimmage, and in turn we didn't play very good.
Sure.
To be perfectly honest with you. So the following week, again, we were kind of in the same lull, if you will. You could tell it's the dog days. I remember being there as a player, but
absolutely.
We spent a little bit more time, talking about it and addressing it, and then prior to the second scrimmage, we spent a little bit of time doing like a mock game week type deal, just stuff that we had been putting off and that needs to be done for week 1. So we went over, hey, here's how we're going to operate on a Friday night in terms of going out and stretching and taking the field and getting them off the field and using and maybe freshening them up a little bit so they could use their brains a little bit more in terms of film study. And so I think every coach has their own style in terms of how they handle that, but I think it's a challenge that every coach deals with, and probably young teams deal with a little bit more. But again, I couldn't be more proud of how our kids have handled it. I think, although we're young, I think they've done everything we've asked of them. So that's been part of it, just talking to them about it.
Fantastic. One more question I have for you, and it's just something I like to ask people. You take wins and losses out of the equation.
Yeah.
How do you deem your first season as a success? Without wins or losses, it doesn't matter if you go 0-10 or 10-0. What's the 1 or 2 things that you'd like to see and you know what, my first year was successful?
Well, I think the key is, and I know you just kind of touched on this, I would hope that we as a staff or as a team wouldn't approach our day-to-day stuff any differently if we were 0-10 or if we're 10-0. Mm-hmm. Whether the best team in the state or whether we're the worst team in the state, we're going to try to approach every day the same. So as far as success goes, I would say, are we maximizing our potential? Did we become as good a team as what we were capable of, or do we leave some on the table? And I don't think you ever reach, the pinnacle or your peak or whatnot, but, you would hope, hey, we're making strides every day, and how much better can we get? And are we being as efficient as we can be in terms of improvement? So for us, I know it sounds like coach talk, but really I think our success is measured by, how close do we get to our full potential.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
First season at the helm of the South Range Raiders.
Thank you.
Friday night, New Middletown taking on the Springfield Tigers.
Yes, sir.
Looking to defend that title. Good luck.
Yes, sir.
Thank you the rest of the way.
Appreciate you. Appreciate YSN and G. Angelos. Thank you all.